We should not be for sale. We are not a banana republic. We should be above this. And so there's a lot of pressure still on Republicans to follow through, Mitch McConnell being one of them. Everybody's like, hey, wait a second, Mitch, what's going on? Why isn't this happening? Mitch McConnell is suffering, in my estimation, and I'm not a doctor, and I'm not a family member, so I don't know. I just see what I see on camera. He's suffering from some other challenges. I would guess physical challenges. Don't forget the other day what happened when he kind of zoned out. Some people worried that it might have been even kind of a mini stroke. We hope not, but clearly he's challenged. I get that a lot of people don't want Mitch McConnell in the seat right now. I get a lot of people want to see more activity from the House Oversight Committee, and they'd like to see impeachment proceedings begin there with Joe Biden. That would, take a fair amount of effort and leadership from the Republican Party. But still, it's pretty uncalled for what actually happened. Right? I can describe it to you. It is about a minute of just yelling at Mitch McConnell, yelling at him to retire. They're chanting, retire, 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 retire. And they're drowning him out. I mean, why anybody wants to go into politics is beyond me. I guess you better be making something on the side, right? For goodness sakes. What a thankless business. So Mitch McConnell's getting yelled at really spectacularly. It is awful. And I'm just going to say this. You know what? We've come to the point in society where clearly nobody has any manners. Nobody has any decorum whatsoever. For goodness sakes, you got Lizzo out there shaking her you-know-what as she's playing a many hundred-year-old flute that was once owned by James Madison. I mean, this is where we are, folks.
Bitch, I just twerked and played James Madison Christmas from the 1800s.
In other words, there's no decorum. There's no decorum in the entertainment space. There's no decorum in the political space. There's no decorum in the business space. Like, what is happening to society? We are deteriorating, and we are deteriorating very quickly, to the point where politicians on one side of the aisle, because by the way, you can only get away with this stuff on one side of the aisle. Politicians on one side of the aisle actually had the audacity to say 2 months before the election that no matter what, Joe Biden should never concede even if he lost? Remember.
Joe Biden should not concede under any circumstances, because I think this is going to drag out. And eventually, I do believe he will win if we don't give an inch.
Yeah.
There's no doubt that the Russians did interfere in the election. And I think
they're all in cahoots together on this. They've got their talking points, and they're going to keep jamming them down our throat. The danger becomes, at what point does society really start to suffer? Because we're not allowed certain freedoms, including our freedom of speech. I just would say this. I think society starts to push back, which is exactly what you saw in the case of Bud Light. That is why that company has lost nearly $40 billion in market cap since the whole Dylan Mulvaney scandal unfolded, right? There's a theme here, and people can only be pushed so far. On top of it, they're dealing with a really lousy economy. And I say lousy because this is what you never want. You don't want stagflation, which is the direction I believe that we're heading in. You got a little inflation going on. You got a soft economy going on. What does that mean? It means stagflation. And guess what? Ironically, we haven't had that since Jimmy Carter back in the 1970s. I mean, we're going straight. This is like Jimmy Carter 2.0. And so from an economic perspective, people are hurting. They don't like it. You look at what's going on with mortgage rates right now. We are now at some 23-year high, up nearly 8. We're at nearly 8%. It's 7% and change. And this is all direct reflection of what's going on with treasuries right now, because the 10-year yield is up over 4%. I believe it closed about 4.09%. I mean, you get 10-year yields that high. What does it do? It makes everything else go up. It makes the cost of capital go higher, because that's how interest rates are set, effectively off the 10-year yield, right? So you're going to pay more for the mortgage, which means, guess what? You can't afford as much house. And given that most Americans have their net worth tied up in their housing, that's going to make them feel really lousy, whether it's just on paper or whether, in fact, they have to sell their home. They're not going to be able to sell it for as much money. Hey everyone, Trish Regan here. If you enjoyed that clip, please do me the favor of subscribing to the channel. Just hit that little subscribe button right over there. Did I do that right? Not quite, but you know where it is. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so that you get the alerts, and I'll see you back on the show.